My mom was seeing that even she can't comfort me because I was on her lap crying. They called my uncle and my aunt. They drove as well from Polokwane. And we got on call with my grandmother. And, my grandmother just kept saying, what did you want that to happen to that child? You wanted him to die. And in my heart, I'm thinking,
grandmothers.
you wanted, and I'm thinking, yes, I wanted him to die. What must I do with this child?
Does you or your business need cybersecurity solutions? Well, look no further. RAM Cyber Solutions has got you. RAM Cyber Solutions is on the defense side of cybersecurity. They provide tools and solutions to protect any business against any ransomware and attacks. They also provide real-time alerts to clients in case of any suspected attacks. From mailing security, networks, privilege access, data loss, and backup. Get in contact with RAM Cyber Solutions using the contact details on the screen. Hi everyone, welcome to O Narrative Podcast by myself, Promise Makunyane. This podcast is about marriage and family dynamics. If you'd like to be a guest on my podcast, you know what you got to do. You have to send me your story on the email address that is popping on the screen. Do not forget to put your number, most preferably your WhatsApp number, so that I can contact you once we have vetted your story. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for those that have subscribed. Please, if you have not subscribed, take this moment and look there by your screen. Check the subscribe button, click on it until it says subscribed. Then you know that you have subscribed. It really makes a difference on my side. And thank you so much for always stopping by. Please continue sharing my content. Please continue being so engaging in the comment section. And. Anyway, guys, this is another conversation that is educational. Now and then, out of mugozi, out of drama, I bring like an educational content, and today it's one of those. I've got a beautiful lady that reached out to me and said they wanted to share their story with their child. Is it a son?
My son.
Yeah. So every time I speak about conversations that I'm not clued up about, or I'm talking about communities that I don't know, I always make a disclaimer, and I'll do so even now, that I might use words that are offensive. I might use words that I'm not supposed to use, and it's not because of disrespect or intention. It's just purely because I don't know, and that's why we are here to be educated. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for reaching out to me, because I love to bring such, even though it does not, I'm not affected by it, but a lot of people are affected by it, right?
That's true.
Yeah. So please just introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself. And I've seen that you've done so many interviews with like...
I have. My name is Motlacho Moloi. Ke Limpopo.
Ha?
What's
your Limpopo?
Sure. How you
no, you are just teasing me because you know I'm ready or something. Okay. Where in Limpopo?
Shil.
Okay.
Original from Shil. Yeah. So I am 25 years old.
And people said I must stop talking about people's ages because you look old. Promise. Stop saying people are old because you look old.
Oh, please. Okay. Yeah. So I'm 25. My son is 5. He'll be turning 6 in about 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And he has Down syndrome. So medically, they refer to it as Trisomy 21. So it was quite a journey with him. The place that I'm at with him now, where I'm proud to have him. And I'm proud to teach other people about children like him, So I think that most people ask me if, I had a prenatal diagnosis or...
That's one of my questions.
Yes. I know a lot of people are interested, in knowing what it was my diagnosis, prenatal or postnatal. And I got my diagnosis once Ole was born. Yes. And they do tests.
Yes,
they must
weeks.
Do tests, right, for any abnormalities and I think because at that time, because I fell pregnant when I was 18, I was so young, I was so clueless, I was I was also very numb, like you wouldn't know that these are tests that need to be done.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think people, when they give birth to like healthy babies, and it's often you take it for granted, you know, because you never think that one day it could be me.
Yeah.
You know, so when I was um, mid my pregnancy,
Yeah.
right, I went to my gynae, and they tested Ole, and the only thing that they picked up was that his kidneys were swollen
Okay.
in my womb.
Okay.
So his valves were blocked, right? So you can already imagine this was a child who was in distress from the time that I conceived,
Yeah.
right? And so the gynae said, you know what, this should be something that would clear up, you know? And went back, I think 30 weeks, and he says to me, no, you need to go see a fetus specialist because the kidneys are dilated now, like there's little spots. You know, and then so because we are like from home, and I think medical is not as advanced, so we had to travel to Pretoria to do those tests.
Yeah.
And me going there, I had no idea what was going to happen, but I was expecting to go back home, right? So we went there, and for some odd reason the dad also came, which he wasn't frequenting my checkups.
Okay.
But on that particular one he came.
Was there?
And I think we took about the whole day doing those tests. And at some point they're like, the child is not moving, go sit outside and eat. And I think it was nearing evening
Yeah.
that doctor said to me that, and mind you, my mom is based in Limpopo. My family everyone is in
Is in
Limpopo.
Limpopo.
It's just me and the father.
daddy.
And the baby daddy. No. So usually doctors, they would know the risks. They'll give you options.
Yeah.
So they say to me, you run the risk of giving birth to a stillborn. So you would want to deliver,
Yeah.
but you can also take the risk and wait for the baby to fully develop. So, I mean, imagine at 18 years old, now you have to make decisions of
I was
life and
about
death.
to say that you are 18.
At 18 years old.
And now when you do like one test, what are they saying? That, okay, we'll continue to do the test, or you are failing the test, or this is what, or this is...
Test in terms of what?
When you went there at the hospital, when
Yeah.
you stayed the whole... Were you doing like tests?
So
where you
remember then,
admitted?
Down syndrome was like, I didn't even know what Down syndrome was.
I could imagine.
It
yeah.
was, like for me, I'm thinking, maybe it's just health complications. It can be, do you understand?
Yeah.
And they were doing tests to see, you know, what's wrong with the baby's
kidney.
kidneys, you understand? So I went downstairs. Obviously, I cried. I called my mom, and you know she rushed. So my mom was in politics in Limpopo, so she was like, you know, in and out, coming to see me during that time.
Yeah.
So it was on a Wednesday. They rushed us to Unitas.
Yeah.
So now you like, I don't know, so many things were happening at once. Yeah, let's book her a bed, call her family, call her parents, and you just went there for a checkup. So we get there, they do all of these steroids, and then on Friday, I give birth. And still I'm thinking we just going to make sure the baby is fine, the health, you know. Give birth, and they put the baby, Ole, so the baby in an incubator and, you know, into the NICU. And I go back. And only now I'm learning that they told the baby daddy
Oh my God.
and my mother, and they were like, they mustn't tell me so that I can just, you know, because I've already had a traumatic birth experience, just so I can, you know, Then the pediatrician said, I will tell her myself. Yeah. But even when she came to tell me, she just said to me, we're still running tests. Because every day I'd ask her, are the results back? And then she would say to me, no, just focus on the baby getting better. Focus on you guys going home.
Yeah.
So I was living at the hospital. So I think the level 4, there was a mother's quarters, and then Ole was, I think, level 1. That's where the neonatal ICU was. And so I'd go there. It was very somber, very somber. Like you can imagine, that's all I did every day. I'd wake up and go see him in ICU, go to sleep, wait for the evening rounds, go and see him. So I remember on this particular day, I was in the maternity ward. So I'm pumping milk because he couldn't breastfeed, right? So he was born with like low muscle tone, and it's very common with children with Down syndrome.
Yeah.
So he couldn't breastfeed. So I was pumping for him, and I'm praying, I'm playing worship, and it's like a normal evening.
Yeah.
And then I go see him, and then the doctor comes. And remember, I had been asking her repeatedly,
How is mine?
how are the results coming? She would just say to me, no, just focus on Ole, and then I think she could see that it's making me very anxious. So that evening,
How many days later after birth?
I think 5.
Sure.
5. And that evening she comes, and then we talk, chit-chat around the incubator, and then she says to me, no, the results are back, and I'm sorry, Ole has Down syndrome. He tested positive for trisomy 21. And I promise you, at that time, I just there was just a ringing sound in my ear, like I couldn't hear anything else. And suddenly all the nurses in the neonatal are coming to hug me as though like they said the child is dead. Exactly. Everyone is now coming to hug me, comforting me. And I just stormed out, and I went into the waiting room, and I called my mother, and I cried. Oh, I cried. I don't think in my life I will never cry for anyone like that. You sure, even if God forbid, my mom passes, there will never be a day where I'll cry the way I cried on that day. And remember, my mom is in politics. She's supposed to deliver her budget speech the next day. She came to.
I'm even getting like.
She came to. She came to Centurion immediately. I think in about 2 hours, she was there. And I was crying. Promise, I was crying. I was so inconsolable. As soon as someone just touches me, I start crying more. And then I went up to the mother's quarters, and then my roommate found me crying. I'm crying. She called Ole's doctor. Like the way this person is crying, I'm scared.
Anything can happen.
Yeah,
Now.
I'm scared. So Ole's doctor came. She tried to soothe me while we were waiting for my mother. When my mom came, I just cried, promise. I cried. I couldn't say anything. My mom was seeing that even she can't comfort me because I was on her lap crying. They called my uncle and my aunt. They drove as well from Polokwane. And we got on call with my grandmother. And, my grandmother just kept saying, what did you want that to happen to that child? You wanted him to die. And in my heart, I'm thinking...
grandmothers.
you wanted... And I'm thinking, yes, I wanted him to die. What must I do with this child? And I'm crying, I think for 8 hours, non-stop. And I think it's when I started gasping for air, my mom is like, stop it now. Stop. And I fell asleep.
What was your pain with the news that they gave you? What was like your most pain?
I think number 1, it was an unwanted pregnancy. And then on top of that, I had to deal with the health complications of Ole. And then on top of that, you want to tell me that my son has a disability that is incurable. So when they would tell it, because I would ask them, okay, so what next now? What must happen? They said, no, there's no cure.
Yeah.
There's no cure. So also the hospital was also overwhelming me. So imagine now they just told you this diagnosis. They're arranging counselors for you. They're arranging people. Like I didn't even have time to process. And to be honest with you, I never did process. I think after that day I was told, I just buried it. And I buried myself as well. Like I just acted like...
autopilot mode.
Yeah, like now I was on autopilot. I think that's the word.
Yeah.
I would just go see my son.
Everything is fine.
Yeah, and I think there was a day when my mom came to visit me, and there was a hotel close by, and then I said to her that I'm tired of eating the food at the hospital because remember we had been there for some time.
Yeah.
And then she says to me, "What do you want to eat?" So she before even before even Centurion Chisanyama
Was a thing.
yeah, it was still in, they were still renovating it.
Yeah.
So my mom took me there and then we ate in silence,
Like,
just quiet. So we just sat in silence, and then after that we went to a hotel room, and I just started crying, and then she just said, "All is well, baby, all is well." And I cried, and then I slept, and then she took me back to the hospital and she left. And
how long are you now at the hospital?
probably like 2 weeks. So the days were the same, and they just passed by, and now they're bringing counselors to talk to me. No, Ola will be fine. Look at other kids they're showing me. But at the time, I don't really think those are things that
you want to hear.
you want to hear. Like, you just want them to say, he's fine. Nah, yeah, you understand. And I think even in that, I think on that second week, he had an operation that he had to do. So remember, the issue that brought us to the hospital was still there.
The kidneys.
The kidneys. So he had to go for theater. So what they did is that they took his bladder out.
Ish. A small baby.
Yeah. They took his bladder out, and then they sew it. What's the word?
Yes, they
sew it so that it stays outside, and then he just pees freely. Yeah. So he just pees freely, just like that.
So you had to see all that. You saw the bladder outside the body of the child.
I went home with him like that, with the bladder, and people would look, but Kimuku, is this the belly button? I'm like, no, that's how he pees.
How does the bladder looks? I don't know how.
I think it's just, I don't know what they call the
Catheter.
It wasn't. He had a lot of catheters. It wasn't a catheter. I think it was a piece of the bladder or what. I don't know, but it just looked like the pee would just flow freely.
Okay.
It would just come out on its own, because he was still too young for them to unblock his valves. Like, the kidneys were not, they had not developed enough for them to unblock his valve. So they opened.
How long did that go for, with his kidney being out?
A long time. I think we only closed it 2022. So he was like that for a very long time.
Meaning that, did you cover it? Because
with a nappy, with his nappy. So it wasn't a huge. I think it was about.
I've seen something like that. It's like
yeah, they take it out, and then the bladder just it frees itself. So
I think I know even people. There was this person on TikTok?
I think that's a stoma. You're referring to
yes,
those ones.
actually.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the same.
Same.
I don't know. But we did that, and in the midst of dealing with all his diagnosis, I think what was difficult was also like the health part of his. Because when we were at the hospital, now they're like, no, a cardiologist is coming, because children with Down syndrome tend to have like genetic defects. So my son had a VSD, so it was a hole in the heart that they needed to close. They needed to close.
For child asthma.
And they couldn't do that immediately, so they gave us 8 months to prepare.
From the trauma to the coming trauma that you have to prepare.
We had to prepare for that, for them to close that hole.
That hole.
So a month later, we were discharged. So we go home to Polokwane, and you can imagine, like it said, I don't even think my brothers understood what is Down syndrome, because they just saw a child who was back home.
Did he have, or does he still have, like, physical defects where maybe
So there are physical features, not necessarily defects. So there are physical features with children with Down syndrome. That's why they say that they all look alike. But that's a myth, because my son looks like his dad. Right? So they don't all look alike. So they would have almond-shaped eyes that are a bit slanted.
Yes.
And then they would have like a button nose. And then they would have like a short neck. And even the fingers would be short and kind of, thick and stuff. So there are those features. But I mean, no two children are the same, So So they just saw a normal baby
Yeah.
because it's not like the face was skew or it was just a normal baby. But he was, so when we went home, obviously he was on a medical routine every 3 hours. So I had to administer him like chronic medication for the heart, for the kidneys, and all of that. That time, I'm still 18 years old.
I was about to say, you are just an 18-year-old.
I am. I was.
Who fell pregnant, I would say by mistake.
Yes.
And then now you are faced with this. Where are your friends? Because you've got like friends. You've got relatives that now you brought a baby that is not.
So with friends, I completely isolated myself. So the people that were part of my journey, mostly really my family. I think my friends only started to later know that I was pregnant and even later know that the child has Down syndrome.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
I isolated myself because I'm thinking, what are my friends going to say? Not only am I pregnant, but now I've given birth to a child with a disability. How cursed can a person be? Do you understand? That's what I was thinking. My friends cannot know. My family knew, and they were very supportive. You know, my mom, shout out to her. She's been incredible.
Shame.
Yeah, my mom is incredible. And my family, my grannies,
Baby daddy?
he was there in the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, in the beginning he was there.
Because he was there at the hospital.
He was. He was there to the extent that he could be there. I don't want to speak badly of anyone, but
So your relationship ended.
Our relationship ended when Ole was about 4, I think.
4 years.
So hence I'm saying we pushed Nyana, but yeah. But there were problems, and I think also with him, I don't know, like I think even still today he really struggles with the reality of Ole's diagnosis. I think he does. I think yeah.
Do you think he's ashamed? Is there a shame that is attached to your?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I started posting pictures of Ole like properly, without hiding, without using filters, without taking half of his face. Yeah, probably when he was around 4, because I remember on his birthday we were sitting and we had a little thing for him on his birthday, and I said to my mom, "I'm done crying. I'm done crying, and I'm done being depressed, and I'm done feeling sorry for myself and feeling pity. I'm going to accept Ole, and I'm going to ask God that, what do you want me to do with this child?" Because in the 4 years, to be honest, I was a present mother, but I was also absent.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Like,
yes. You were not emotionally there.
No.
You were just changing nappies.
I just had to do it because it's my child, but I was extremely absent, even with him going for therapy. Because Ole started therapy at 4 months. He started going to physio and occupational therapy at 4 months. Because every time I speak with a pediatrician, she'll ask me, is this child going for therapy? Is this child? So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to
start.
Yes, let me start. But I was very ashamed, what are people, even when I date people, I remember like
there's that part as well.
Yeah, like especially when you dating someone who is a child who has kids, and now you must tell them that, no, my son actually has this genetic disorder, a disability, and it shows because I started introducing to Ole at a time where he should be speaking and he wasn't. At a time where he should be off the nappy and he wasn't. So it was quite obvious, for people to be like, okay, something is.
Yeah. Do you think it would be? Are you currently dating?
No.
Do you think it would? I know someone, right, who has a child with disabilities, and I don't know, for lack of a better word, they feel stuck. They feel stuck. They don't think there is life outside this. If they broke up with a boyfriend, I can't break up with my boyfriend because no man is going to take this child. Do you also have that?
I felt like that as well. I felt like that. Who other than the father of the child to accept
this child?
This child, But I think after the father of Ole, then I dated someone who was absolutely amazing, loved Ole, and, understood and wanted to learn as well.
Yeah.
How do I communicate with him? So we use a lot of signing with him, and there's never a time where I'm confused that Ole wants this, because he would sign. So I think at that time, then I started seeing that actually I am projecting my own fears on people
Yeah.
and my own shame on
Yes,
people.
on people.
Yes, and I'm thinking they are judging my child.
Yeah.
But they're really not.
Not.
They're not. And sometimes, Promise, we say that people are ignorant, but they just don't know.
We just don't know. Yeah.
True. You just don't know. And when I say with you, like I was watching your interview with Megan, and she was saying that no, we don't say people living with
Yes.
disabilities. I also didn't know
Know
that.
that.
I didn't know that. So now when I refer to my son, I don't say a person living with Down syndrome, as though he's suffering for it or it's a disease.
Okay, yes, yes.
So I'm also learning along the way, but in my learning, I first had to just accept, and it took me long.
Yeah.
But I always say to people that you will free yourself so much if you do it sooner.
I can imagine. If you really say, this is my situation and I'll own it. And also people can't use it against you anymore.
True. That's very true. I remember how each person that like I would say post on Instagram, as soon as someone comments about Ole, I'm thinking they want to talk about, his disability. Can someone see him? And I remember there's a girl who I went to school with, right? And I posted a picture of Ole, and then she commented, "Hi sis, I don't mean to be forward and stuff, but does Ole have Down syndrome?" I immediately deleted that picture. Yes. But she was asking because her mom just gave birth to a child with Down syndrome, and she wanted advice. You understand? So I realized that as soon as I own up to my story, as soon as I'm not ashamed of my story, nobody can make me feel bad for it.
Yeah.
And then nobody can come and narrate my story in a way that I don't want. It's like, the reason why Mtlatso's not posting her child is because she's ashamed of the child, So I kind of really took ownership and say that no one is going to drive this how the story ends for me, So yeah.
And also you ask yourself that if I'm feeling like this, how many other women are feeling like this? In their little corners, and you get to check around that, what, I've got my mom, I've got my family that supported me. There's somebody that is there, that their own mother.
That's true.
It's like, I can't even pick up your child. So
even someone who is a mom themselves and have to be a mom to other children. Yesterday morning, a lady sends me a DM, says, "I saw your poster, can you please call me quickly?" So in my head, I'm thinking, I just gave birth to my child is 10 weeks. They can't even talk. So I call them, and it's a woman who's 41. By the way, I'm 25. She's 41.
Yeah.
She just gave birth. She gave birth to a child with Down syndrome, and they just couldn't stop crying. I think we spoke for almost an hour.
Yeah.
And like when you're speaking of support, it matters to be part of a community. And for me, I had denied myself that because I felt like if I become part of communities of children with Down syndrome, it means that I'm accepting this and, they're going to overwhelm me with, so I stayed away. But that for me was just because I had not yet accepted. I was in so much denial.
It's true. It's true. And you get to, for example, I personally talk about marriage, even the bad side of marriage, and people that are coming to me are actually most of them are married people because I'm reflecting to them what they are failing to accept, that my husband cheated on me and I stayed. They're like, yo, why is she talking about this? I'm like, but it happened to me, and I'm willing to see through it and overcome it, and we are okay, we are in a better space. So people that will always attack you are those that are in there and they're failing to accept and see their way out of the situation.
That's true.
So when do you now start to say, let me educate, there's a bigger reason why I'm in this with this child?
So like I said, like when he turned 4, I said to my mom, I said to her, I'm done crying, done feeling sorry for myself, and God has given me a vision, and I'm going to run with it. And when people are searching high and low, Cape to Cairo, for purpose and to be part of something bigger than themselves, God has just really said, here it is.
Yeah.
You don't have to look too far. You know, you don't have
That's
to go to
powerful.
prophets and go to synagogues and Israel. Here it is. Just open your eyes and this is it. But I first need you to accept, you know, and I think the scripture that I run with now is that every good and perfect gift comes from God. You know, would a child ask from their father fish and the father gives them snake, or they ask for bread and the father gives them stone? How much more your Father in heaven? You know, so I was like, you know what? God has given me a good and perfect gift. If I'm saying Ole is not good and perfect, who am I saying that he comes from? You understand? So I was like, okay, he's good and he's perfect and he's from God. So God said to me, okay, now we're going to form a foundation and we're going to support other mothers. And you crawled and you battled so that they can fly. No mother should be spending more than a year depressed because of they gave birth to a child with disability. There's so many people that support them. There's a community of people that can show them that it can be done earlier. You understand? And also just really raise awareness. There's so many things that people, you know, right now there's this popular comment that's going on TikTok where people ask, is he acoustic? You know, things like that. When, you know, they post certain
What's
pictures.
that? Is it like
they want to say
Down syndrome community things that we don't know?
No, it's not even meant to be funny. Do you understand? Yes. And then I saw some comment. Someone said, I think it was a bit adult with Down syndrome, and some people commented, is Skomota isn't gaga, something like that. And I looked at it and I'm like, yo, I don't know how people think this is not offensive. So I just looked at it. Okay, I'm just like, okay. But as a parent who now is accepting of their journey, it would not be the same for a parent who just started their journey and sees those kind of comments about, you know, their child with Down syndrome or their community of people with Down syndrome, you know. So I think yes, to really educate people, unstigmatize Down syndrome. They are really more alike than different. If I come with Ole, you will only notice when it's time to talk that he's not a neurotypical child. Do you understand? He plays with other kids. Normally, he's just a bit aggressive because he probably feels misunderstood because he can't speak. Do you understand? He can't talk. He talks, but not full sentences. So he can say to me, door. So I know that I need to open the door. He can give me his plates. I know that he wants to eat. Tetela, let's go sleep. I know that, you know. So I'm never confused about what he wants. But I think when he's with other children,
it frustrates him.
He does get frustrated. And that's why socially, I've not really exposed him that much to playing with other kids unless I'm there.
How old is he now?
He's 5, so he's turning 6 soon. 2 weeks. So I'm doing.
And then we actually running out of time because this Missy here, she had an interview inside an interview.
You're so courteous of me.
Hey,
thank you.
Wait till Musadio doesn't know who I am. Like, let me just.
No, I do.
Because
I do.
I wanted to talk about, were you at school? Like, how were you already at school? Did you continue studying?
I was at school. So I felt pregnant at school. I was sent to school in Bloem. And I found a Sotho hug, and then we had a child, you know. And
what were you studying?
I was doing law, LLB. So I was in my 2nd year, and I was doing very well, you know, like a golden key type of things. I was part of geological societies, and then boom, the child came.
Did you continue studying after that?
It was very traumatic for me, to be honest. I would try, you know, I would try to register, and then next thing Ole goes to hospital. Because remember, the first year of Ole's life, we spent it in hospital. He had an open heart surgery. I think we spent his first Christmas in ICU, you know, those kind of things. And the reason, to be honest, why we even moved to Joburg was for Ole, because his specialist doctors were this side. And he would deteriorate when we take him. Home. Yeah, you understand? Because the doctors wouldn't have a history of him, you know. So even when I would go back to school, like, I would struggle. And I remember there was a time when I was in hospital writing exams, and then Ole
Writing exams in a hospital.
in hospital, because also Ole's pediatrician is like an old woman, so she was like, no,
You have to study.
yeah, and I said to her, my milk is drying up. She said, just forget about it, baby.
Yeah.
Don't breastfeed anymore. And I remember, because I was so depressed after that, I just went to drink.
Yeah.
After she said to me, no, you don't have to breastfeed. So I'm like, let me just go.
Me drown my sorrows.
yeah. So it was quite the journey.
So what are you currently doing? Like, are you working?
So I'm working and also run a foundation,
Yeah.
Olesego Kalushi Foundation in his name.
Olesego
Kalushi.
Yeah. How can
Foundation.
people reach you? Is it, do you need donations? Do you need only people with children with disabilities? Or what do you guys do there?
So tomorrow, let me just talk about tomorrow quickly. We're having an awareness walk from 7.
Even though when they see this, they won't see this tomorrow. But I want you to speak about it.
All right.
So,
We're having an awareness walk from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. at Kalami Corner, upper level, just to raise awareness, to shout the value and the worth of children with disabilities, and not only with Down syndrome,
Okay.
so children with intellectual disabilities, autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome. But as a foundation, really what we do is that we offer support for mothers, who are going through, the journey of raising a child with intellectual disabilities. And we also kind of facilitate the process of children being in therapy, because that is very important for, yes, we facilitate that, because I think there was a mommy that was here who was talking about autism, that in the public sector, you can wait for almost a year to get, so we're trying to facilitate that process and make it easier for parents to have access to, it mustn't be a luxury, they have the right to it. Yes, so
you need to get in contact with that mommy, and you guys must do amazing things here and there together.
Absolutely.
You guys.
Absolutely. I'd love that.
Yeah. That's the purpose of this conversations that I always have.
You're doing well to connect people.
Yes. There are people that can't speak. It took you long to speak, but you finally got the courage to speak. There are people that can't speak. They're in the rural area, somewhere in the corner, just sitting, watching, crying each and every day. So these platforms, they really just empower people that really can't speak.
I believe so too.
Yeah.
I do. I think I read the comments every time when, especially a mother is on the platform. I'm like, wow, your platform has given people a voice, and through that, other people are finding their voice.
100%. Yeah. So tomorrow, as we are shooting this, tomorrow is Human Rights Day.
Yes,
and then you are having your walk.
Yes.
How big is it? How many people are you?
So we're expecting 50 to 70. And yeah, so I think around that number, and a few high-profile figures. I don't want to now.
Obviously, the mom was delivering a budget speech. What? So
I will also be doing other interviews during the course of the day tomorrow for World Down. So tomorrow is International World Down Syndrome Day.
Okay, it's also Human Rights Day.
Also Human Rights Day. So they coincide, because back in the days, people with Down syndrome were deprived of basic human rights. Yeah. So they made it on this day, the UN.
Same day.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, Mencho. Already you are doing big things, because the mom with autism, she was still like in her shell, saying 2-3 things on TikTok and really helping people. And I was like, girl, you need to do the event, you need to do what. And the other day she was saying, Mrs. Lo, I'm asking for donation, I'm having an event. I'm like, I'll give you the donation.
Funny enough, she's very active on social media. I'm not. And I want to be.
Okay.
I just am not good at the content creating, but I want to be.
Have you not shared your child story online yet?
I have on Instagram. I'm just saying, I think TikTok would be a better platform for that. Yes. I think Instagram is a very, people are serious there. People are people are serious there. It's like you are buying those likes and those comments, and those views. Yeah. So
with TikTok, you'll really go viral, and you'll meet people that are really saying, I feel you. However, you are going to get equal hate. Oof. You must just know that you must have that thing. My child will be dragged. There are maniacs there on TikTok.
Oof. Yeah.
But now for nights that one person that I've touched on that day, the message has landed. I did not call myself to say these things. I think there's a bigger thing. So even if you drag me, there are 2 people that got this message, and was meant for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Lastly, in closing, and if you don't want to answer it, you are welcome to. Do you think Skomata has Down syndrome?
I wouldn't know. You know what? I wouldn't know. For me, I don't like diagnosing
Yes.
just by looking at someone
Yeah.
because you can misdiagnose. I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
I think I look at him and he sometimes behave like he's like a neurotypical person, and other days is neurodivergent, and it's tricky. Like, you know, even children with so they call it a non-visible disability with autism, right? You can't really see it. So they can look, you know, so sometimes you can misdiagnose a child. You see them playing on their own.
Yeah.
And I used to work at a crèche for children with disabilities, you know, so you can see signs of this, but you are never allowed to say to a parent that I think your child has autism unless a professional says we have run the test. Yeah.
And the reason why I'm asking you is because you said somebody commented and said Skomota.
A very offensive comment. Yeah.
Anyway, guys, where can people reach you?
So on Instagram, I am Motlatso __. We also have an Instagram page, Olesego Kalushi Foundation. And we also have a page for olesego.kalushi.
Yeah. Please do follow her, and I'm definitely going to link you up with the autism mom. Because hey, busy girl, I man busy man. I love it for her.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, I feel in myself there are a lot of things that we did not speak about, but unfortunately, girl, busy.
I apologize.
What radio station was that?
It was SAFM.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she had an interview. Inside the interview, you had to stop filming. However, I think many things you're just going to get them directly from her. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you for saying yes. I accept this child and I'm going to run with it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Promise this was lovely.
Bye.